Welcome everybody, my name's Josh and I'm a science communicator here at Questacon, the National Science and Technology Centre in Canberra. And joining me today is Professor Fumiko Kasuga, the Global Hub Director of Future Earth. Welcome to Australia and welcome to Canberra.
Thank you very much. It's my fourth visit to Australia and third visit to Canberra, and I'm so excited.
Oh, awesome. So Future Earth, not entirely surprisingly, their focus is on the future of our planet, but it's not about hoverboards or holograms. It's instead about something a little more important. It's about the sustainability of our planet. Now, obviously, this is super important, but what I really like about Future Earth is that it's not all doom and gloom. It's also about how we can actually practically do something.
That's right.
But I'm still not entirely confident what Future Earth does. Can you explain to me what Future Earth does in your own words?
Yeah, sure. The most important thing Futures is doing is to consider our own life, not only the environment or the planet of the Earth, but our life in the future, in coming days, and including our next generations of offsprings and children and grandchildren more much area in the future. And in order to do so, we're trying to facilitating by connecting various communities, also in the science communities, but also in the non-scientific communities as well. And by connecting and facilitating those networking, we aim to add some additional new value by synthesizing and bringing into innovation.
So when you say non-science communities, you mean people like business owners, policymakers, so other people who aren't scientists but maybe in positions of power or have the ability to do something?
Yeah, including everyone. Yeah, we as scientists are family members, of course, and so we're the citizens.
Yeah.
And trying to involve citizens are a very important point for Future Earth. In order to engage them to consider their way of life, style of life, to be sustainable for our next generations.
Fantastic. So a huge part of Future Earth is transdisciplinary work. So that is getting people from different fields, like scientists and business people, or scientists and geologists, or I don't know, biologists and geologists, even people who are different, who study different science, getting them to work together.
Yes.
Why is this transdisciplinary, connections, why are they so important?
Because we're facing and experiencing a lot of very difficult and complicated crises in the environment and in human societies. 6 years ago, Japan has suffered by very huge disasters triggered by a 1,000-year event of the earthquake and the following technology-driven disasters of the Fukushima nuclear power plant accident. And we, all of us, have seriously considered since then how science can contribute to the society. And we found that not a single discipline of the science or science alone can solve those problems. And we seriously recognize the importance of collaborating across the disciplines in science and collaboration with the stakeholders in the society to overcome such serious event. And then we recognize that the similar complication and crisis are all over there in the world, and such across the disciplinary collaboration and transdisciplinary which we mean the collaboration with non-scientific communities, is necessary, just necessary to overcome those problems.
So the problems that we face to do with sustainability
Yes.
can't be tackled just with
Yes.
science alone.
Yes.
We need multiple people working together.
Yeah. Just think about the global warming and the high rise in CO2 and the air pollution in the urban situations and poverty and the extreme changes in the land use and huge scale of migration. It's interlinked each other, triggered probably with some natural disaster or some political changes in a certain location, but all of them are connected, and not a single community can solve the problem. We have to think, collaborate, and to think systematic ways and holistical manner.
Which makes sense because these are problems that we all face. It's not just a few of us who are facing these problems. What are some of the challenges that you do end up facing when you try to get teams of people from very different areas or walks of life to actually work together?
Well, if I try to explain that way, people gradually agrees and understand the situation. But when science community raised that point to, for example, the industry leaders or politicians leader, they tend to react this way. Oh, it's a scientist's dream, isn't it? It's your job, not ours. Or even in the scientific communities, if the people from environmental science raise these issues, then mathematicians or economical scientists tends to reply, "Oh, please do it. It's not our job." We need to explain that it's your matter and it's beneficial to you if you collaborate with others and overcome this situation.
Fantastic. Now, Future Earth obviously has their work cut out for them. They've got a big task ahead of them. But you are quite a capable hub director.
I don't know.
You don't know about that? But you've got such a wealth of experience and you've worked in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
How did you end up working with Future Earth?
Well, I have been a researcher on food safety.
Food safety?
Yeah, for your daily food under the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare of Japan. Working also with WHO and FAO.
World Health Organization?
Yes. And food agriculture organizations in the United Nations. And in order to overcome the series of outbreaks of food caused by microorganisms in food, we recognize the importance of systems thinking and food chain approach from the farmers or fishermen and through manufacturing of food or food supply chain and with the kitchen owners and kitchen workers or even, well, fathers and mothers who cook dishes for children at home. And also with local authorities who are responsible of food safety in the local communities. And then, so I worked through all those different peoples in my own research and recognized the importance and the strengths of working transdisciplinary manner. While I was involved in the National Academy. And in Japan, it's Science Council of Japan. And I happen to be a vice president in charge of international activities of National Academy. At that time, Future Earth was planned to be initiated, and as a National Academy, we decided to be engaged deeply because just at that timing, as I mentioned before, we suffered from big disaster, and the whole researchers in Japan was very eager to be responsible to social problems. And then we raised hands to host the Global Secretariat of Future Earth. And then, with collaboration with other 4 countries and several regions in the world, we established the uniquely distributed Secretariat of Future Earth. Then I became a hub director, a global hub director.
Yeah, right. So you've got a lot of experience, which obviously helps you quite a bit in this job. It's interesting how you've taken kind of some of your skills working with foodborne illnesses and actually applied that to sustainability. And it just goes to show how important transdisciplinary work actually is and how practical it is too. But Future Earth isn't working alone, and there's a Future Earth Australia here as well, which works through the Academy of Science.
Yes.
Who else does Future work with? What other organisations?
Well, we're working at various levels domestically and nationally and internationally. Sorry. We are now emphasizing engagement of the national level communities, mostly led by national committees. And then regional network is encouraged also. And at the global level, we're working with other national academies as well as the United Nations organizations such as UNESCO, United Nations universities, and UNEP and WMO, like that.
Right. And you mentioned the United Nations. Now, Future Earth's vision is a big part of that is supporting the Sustainable Development Goals.
Exactly.
Which were put forth by the United Nations and adopted by them in 2015.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, these are 17 goals like ending poverty, ending hunger, creating clean energy, creating quality. And if you haven't checked out the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, I do suggest you do. Now, how important are young people in reaching these goals?
SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, are different from the preceding goals called MDGs, in a sense that all the nations, including developing and developed countries, are included. And all the nations have mandate to set their own goals and targets. And in some countries, industries are encouraged to set their own goals and targets. So in achieving those goals, various generations and various sectors in single countries are engaged, including young generations. And of course, it's not the end. It's not end in 2030, but to be extended for years later, which should be well covered by the next generations. But our generation should be responsible in the current very critical age. If we fail, will be criticized by the next generations.
So you mentioned that the timeline will be extended if you don't reach the goals, or regardless of reaching the goals.
Okay. You can refer to many scientific evidence, but for typical things, I can show the planetary boundaries and the limit of the growth, which clearly shows that we're facing the very ridge of the environment which can maintain our own life. Or from some point of view, we're always stepping out of the reach. We have to urgently come back to the safe zone. But going back to the SDGs, as I mentioned, every nation or industry have to set their own goals. To do so, they need evidence, because without evidence, nobody can set the quantitative goals or targets. And there are many opportunities or obligations to scientific communities to contribute to target setting or goal setting exercises.
In Australia, we have the Young Australians Plan for the Planet, and that's one way that we're acting on that. And it was launched here at Questacon, coordinated by ANU, and it came out of Future Earth Australia. What other advice do you have for young people who actually want to do something about this and act now?
When I heard about that project, I was so impressed. I learned that those projects are voluntarily developed by their own wills by students, younger students, which is very good and very promising for our future. And in Future Side, we have just initiated the similar exercises in the world called SDG Labs.
SDG Labs.
Yes.
So Sustainable Development Goal Labs.
Yeah, that's right,
Cool.
exactly. And it encourages the small size of the community level projects, including students or scientists or local communities, local government or local citizens, or even even industries, to overcome their own problems in their neighborhood. But collaborative activities across among those various people will give a good chance and good visions and knowledges to be shared with other communities. And the planet of the plan of the planet activities in Australia will be linked closely with future such activities.
That's awesome. So all of that work together can be used to actually make a difference.
Yeah.
And it's something that young people are doing, which is really cool. I think that's all we have time for. So I'd like to thank you, Fumiko.
Yeah, just let me add.
Oh, yeah.
I came here to attend one of the Future Earth Global Research Project meeting held in Australia. And I found that many many researchers in Australia are already involved in Future Earth. And the important activities will be taken by Australian National Committee of Future Earth to connect those people. And it's remarkable to me to see how much extent the Australian National Committee has achieved within only 1 year. And I strongly believe that there will be more enhanced that activities in the coming years.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Fumiko. And I'd like to thank Questacon. I'd like to thank Future Earth Australia, the Academy of Science. And again, thank you for joining us and sharing some of your knowledge about Future Earth and sustainability with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Thank you.